Welcome back to another episode of the Rock Your Comeback podcast. I'm your host, Nichole Eaton, intuitive therapist and two-time author, and I'm here with somebody who will be a regular on this show. Her name is Christy Forsyth. If you don't know her, she's an incredible soul therapist. She is one of my favorite people of all times, and we started our very first business together called Clarity. So, yay, happy you're here.
I'm so happy to be here, and I'm so excited to be a regular. Number one, just because we get to hang out. But number two, I think that we just always share really good info together. So I think that it's going to be a lot of fun.
And today we're talking about manifesting your way through May because we're in a fresh month. We're in a fresh energy. We have 0 planets in retrograde, and life is good.
Yeah, I mean, those retrogrades were brutal, and we were deep in retrogrades for like 6 months with some of the more challenging planets, and it just like was killing our vibe a little bit, slowing things down, making it hard. People were really feeling stuck in the mud with things. I think that things were developing and happening, but I think it made it harder for people to manifest the kind of things that they wanted to create. And so now we have a little breather. We will have Pluto going into retrograde May 5th, but that is one of the outer planets, and it's going to be for about 6 months. So it just doesn't have the same impact that some of those other planets were feeling. So I think that we are building up to be focusing on manifestation in May, creating that foundation of that. I'm feeling like June and July feel so lucky to me in this.
Me too. Oh my God. I was thinking about that today. I'm like ready for the summer. And I feel like May is a precursor to that. So when
Yes.
I've been thinking energetically about like May, June, and July, I just feel like lay the fuck out of your foundations, which is why we're talking about like getting back to the basics of manifesting, because I think that some of the ideas around manifesting can get really challenging and convoluted. And I don't think it has to be that fucking hard. I think it can be fun and easy. And getting back to the basics of it helps you just be thinking about it in a fresh way, be reconnecting with those really easy ideas. So, yeah, when I think of May specifically, I think of it as energetically laying the foundations to receive all of the things for June and July.
We are on the same wavelength. I literally just said that in my monthly reading in my membership. Like those exact words. I love that so much that we're both feeling that. And so this is the time to lay the foundation. And I always like to think about the idea that we're manifesting whether we are thinking about it or not. So you probably want to be intentional about it so that you're creating stuff that you want rather than just having whatever show up into your experience.
Well, and I also feel like if you're not actively intentional about your life and you're not actively creating, you're just receiving more of what already is. Like it's so hard to create something new when the universe is just responding to where you already are, what you're already thinking, and what you've already thought and already done in the past is your current reality anyway. So we can create a new reality by just starting to shift some things with what we're doing, how we're feeling, and how we're thinking. And I think that's the easiest thing. And the most exciting news is that we don't have to keep doing the same shit we've been doing if we don't like it. If you like it, cool, this podcast is probably not for you. Or if you like it and you want to make it even fucking better, this podcast is for you. And we're going to tell you how to do that today.
Yeah, because I love the idea just that we are so magical and that we get to create our experience. I remember just like going back in time with you and me when we started to talk about this type of stuff. And what a shift that was for me to start to realize, oh my gosh, I don't have to just say my life is what it is and I just accept it and those are the circumstances. This is what I can expect for the rest of my life. I loved the power that came with the idea that I could at any given moment start to change some of my approaches with things and manifest a totally different experience. And that was so much fun in the beginning. So for those of you who are totally new to manifestation, enjoy it and take a little time to just see the magic in it. And you're going to build on that and create even better things as you get better at it, as you learn a little bit more about it. But I just remember how magical that felt and I loved it.
Yeah, I think that once you start, like once you see it, you can't unsee it, like once you start to see the universe like in play in your life, the way you think about the world and the way you start to see it, the way your energy plays with the things around you. And once you start to see it, you can't unsee it. And, you know, I was saying earlier, like some people have really gotten into manifesting and making it really convoluted. But the reality is that when I first learned manifesting and when I first started seeing it, it was with a book called The Secret by Rhonda Byrne. And it is the most basic bitch reading of manifesting you could possibly do. And I say that with love and respect. It's a very powerful, incredible book, but it is like the true beginner's guide to the idea of manifesting. And it fucking works. Like all of the other stuff, yes, it will work. But I remember, I'm going to tell you like my very first big manifestation story. And it's really not that big if I look back on all the incredible things I've manifested. But my first manifesting story was I got this book, The Secret, and it said, ask and you shall receive. And I'm like, cool, what do I want? And she was like, what about checks in the mail? And I'm like, yeah, okay, who sends checks in the mail these days? So I was so broke. I was so depressed. I had, a job. I was working as a therapist, making $800 every 2 weeks, master's level therapist, making $800 every 2 weeks. I had a child in daycare. I was just broke as shit. And I put out this request to the universe that I wanted this check in the mail. And I just suspended disbelief for a few, and then I honestly totally forgot about it. I didn't focus on it every day. I just kind of held the idea for a moment, thought it would be nice, let it go. And a couple weeks later, I got in a check in the mail from a company that I had worked at when I was 18 years old that was being audited for their taxes. And it was like, back then, again, I was making $800 every 2 weeks. And back then I was like, holy shit, $500 out of fucking nowhere is life-changing money when you're broke. Okay. That is insane amount of money when you're broke and when your mortgage is like $800 as well. Right. So it was that moment where I was like, wait a damn minute. There is something to this because I am actually like, I teach manifestation now. I talk about the universe, but I'm actually a pretty diehard skeptic. You really have to prove things to me in order for me to believe them, which is why all my books are about neuroscience, right? Because I believe in the intuition and energy, but I really want to understand it on a different level. But yeah, that was my very first like, oh, wait a second moment that this actually is something and it works.
Yeah, and we were doing that together. So I think that must have, maybe I was inspired by you. I can't remember, but I know that was one of my early manifestations too. And I still have a picture in my phone of like 8 checks. And how it worked for me was that my chiropractor at the time had, without me even knowing it, submitted all of her claims into my insurance. So I just paid out of pocket, got all of these checks back for all of these sessions that I had. And that's the thing, is it's going to come to you in whatever way is easiest to be able, for it to be able to flow to you. So you want to let go of expectation. Oh, this is where I'm going to get a check from, or this person owes me money and that's where the money is going to come from. You have to release that idea of what that looks like and just allow it to flow in. And even for me and you, we both had very different experiences with that, but the check still came.
Yes. Well, and that's like the thing too that I want to be clear about is that when you're manifesting, when you're deciding what you want, you can look at the things in your fixed reality as, oh, I can't get any more money because I make a salary. I where would it come from? The idea is that you don't have to know how things are going to show up in your reality, but you get to start deciding what that would look like for you. You get to start playing. And I think that's the fun part is that we put a lot of pressure on manifesting. And I think once people start to manifest, there is a very big danger in trying to control things versus using it in a way that's fun and playful and what if and wouldn't that be nice and almost like it's exciting energy versus trying to like control your world and make it the outcome you want. That's not really manifesting, right? That is still controlling and anxiety driven. It's driven by the energy of lack. It's driven by the energy of like, if this thing doesn't happen, I'm not going to be okay. True manifestation is holding the intention, being cool with wherever the hell it comes from, not knowing, like, you don't have to know the source, but also trusting that if it doesn't come, the universe has something better. That if it doesn't come the way you thought it was, it doesn't mean it's wrong or bad. It just means there's a better plan in place. But I think that's like a huge thing that I wish people understood about manifesting more, is that some people learn about manifesting and then try to control their life through intentional thought in a negative, anxiety driven way. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And I know for me, it's a very rare occasion when something manifests in the way that I expected. I'm going to give you an example just from this week. I was just playing around with it. I've been going back to a little bit more of the basics where I do, wouldn't it be nice if, and I follow that with something, or I love it when, and I follow that with something. And so I said last week, wouldn't it be nice if somebody brought me flowers this week? Well, unexpectedly, now I am going through a breakup. And so someone brought me flowers kind of in response to that because I was having a hard day and going through that. And so I got my flowers. And so that's just an example of it might come in a different way. And they were still magical. I was still excited to receive them. Not at all what I expected, but here we are.
Yeah, I think that that's the important thing, is that we're not gripping the things that we desire. We're still allowing and staying open to what the better option is. And I actually get excited sometimes when I don't get what I want, because I realize that whatever is coming must be way fucking better, right? There must be something better coming. So I think overall, the first thing you have to do when you're manifesting is you have to get clear on what you want. If you don't, like, I always compare it to this. If you are in a foreign city, you're leaving the airport, you get in a taxi, the taxi driver doesn't know where to take you. You have to put in an address. You have to tell them exactly where you'd like to go. And then they can take you there. But if you get in and you're like, take me anywhere, the taxi driver will look at you like you're fucking stupid and be like, get out of my car. You can stay your ass here. And I think about the universe like that, right? Of, if you don't know where you want to go, or you're so caught up in the mindset and energy around where you already are, especially when you're feeling stuck or lost or scared, then the universe is going to let you stay there until you start to make new choices about where you want to go and what would be nice and what would feel better. And so I think that when we're going through life and we're on autopilot, it's super hard to be intentional. And when we don't take any time out of our day, I know I'm a busy mom. I've had two companies. My daughter has a softball championship tonight. I'm going. And if I'm not taking time out of my day to sit and be intentional, even just for 5 minutes, about what I want for the day, I am going to get swept up in that chaos and become it. So I really like to take time to really sit and be like, what do I need today? Okay, well, I'm setting the intention that I'm productive today. I'm able to quickly and easily get things done. And I sat with that for a while this morning, and I was like, okay. And I knocked so much stuff out today. But the intention is guiding your thoughts, it's guiding your energy, and it's guiding your actions. Some guy on my on my TikTok was like, I posted something about me being in Lake Como, and I was like, when you realize you're having coffee at a place you had on your vision board. And he was like, oh yeah, you didn't book the trip, you just showed up there, you teleported or something, like, asshole, like, right? And I was like, yeah, but there's an intention there, right? The intention is that I know what I want. And because I know what I want, it's driving my mindset around what I want, and it's driving my actions to follow through and get it. So, do I think that energy and universe play a really important role when it comes to manifesting? Absolutely. Do I also think that the way you think about your life and who you are and what you desire fuels your actions consciously or unconsciously? Also, yes.
Yeah, I also think that we're constantly interacting with the world and the circumstances around us and what's showing up. And all of that is giving us the opportunity to figure out what it is that our intention actually is. We're always fine tuning that and tweaking that if we're paying attention. So we're looking at, oh, I have this experience showing up for me and I don't really like that. That doesn't work for me. Or I put these intentions out to the universe, and now that this has come into my experience, I don't know that that's the right fit for me. I don't know that that quite works for me. And so we come back to the drawing board and we're always kind of determining, what do I want and what do I want this to look like? They call that contrast. So having experiences even that we don't like help us to understand what we do prefer in our lives. And that is really helpful in terms of being intentional, because once you truly understand what you want, you can put that out there and you're going to create that really quickly, typically.
Yeah. Well, and
Process.
I like to think of it as like the contrast is just feedback. It's just information that we need to know about what we like and what we don't like. The problem with the contrast is that we dive into the energy of like, this means something about me or means something about my life, and then we spend a lot of emotional time there. This means that I'm a failure and I'm never going to get anywhere and I might as well quit my business. This means that I'm not really good at what I do. This means I'm never going to have money. This means I'm never going to find love. Like, we create the story secondarily to the feedback. So if we can just take the feedback as information about what it is we do actually want, that's a game changer. I'm a big emotional girly. I'm here for emotions, but there are times where you have to be able to just step back, be the observer of what's going on in your world, and then make decisions about it accordingly. Like, cry it out for sure. But then when you come back to your power, it's really about, okay, I'm taking this information as, you know what? I don't want somebody who treats me like that. I'm uninterested. That gives me the fucking ick. Like, whatever that is for you, giving that feedback of, this is not something I want. Now that gives you you know, the drawing of like, okay, so what is it that I do want? Because the universe really likes you to speak into positives, not negatives. It's not, I want to get out of debt. It's that I want to, make more money. I want to bring more abundance into my life. So we have to be willing to look at not what we don't want, but what we do.
And I think you're talking about that feedback. That's also giving us the feedback for what energy we're putting out there, what thoughts we're putting out there, what we are currently creating in our experience. And it's an opportunity for us to take a look at that and say, okay, so if I don't like what's showing up in my experience, where do I need to make adjustments with my energy, with my thoughts, with my intentions that I'm putting out there? Where do I need to make changes with that so that my experience can start to be different? And I love that, because for me, that's really empowering. That makes me feel like, okay, if I don't like what's happening, then I get to change that. I get to start to shift that. And if I don't like it, then it's bringing that to my awareness, and then I can do something with it.
We talked about the contrast, the feedback, the things you don't want, to get clear on what you do want. We've talked about eliminating the how and just being willing to know that that gets to happen for you and you don't have to decide the pathways. And we talked about the what, like getting really clear on what it is you want. I think the like biggest last guidance piece that I would give somebody is that watching what you're focusing on throughout the day. Like, your energy throughout the day is so important. I think a lot of people start a manifestation practice and they have 10 good minutes of visualizing, of writing, of speaking, of thinking about it in a way that like really connects with their emotions. And then they get into work and they're bitching with their coworkers or they, get a call from their friend and they're talking about how all men suck. And then we're over here doing this and we are spending 10 times more time and energy reaffirming the reality that we've been living in. And and then we've kind of, I think of it like this, we've kind of like, when you save a PDF and then you add a bunch of stuff to it and then you forget to save it and it goes right back to the first version. It's like that, right? Like, we're not keeping up with this, like saving the PDF. We're not locking in who we want to become when we are saying one thing and then doing another. That is called dissonance. So When you are saving the PDF, that means that you are trying to or attempting to come back to holding that energy. And that might be phrases or affirmations. That might be being open and willing. That might be prayer. A lot of people use prayer in the same way we use manifestation, right? Of like, I don't really know what the hell this is, but I'm going to trust it. I'm going to just surrender it. I'm going to like trust that God has a plan. I don't really like it, but it is what it is. So, neutralizing or finding a little bit of a better thought is superior to just focusing on gossiping, diving into and I hate to say it, but even sometimes like journaling, it can be really good to journal if you're like somebody who just needs to get it off your chest and then you can go do something else. But if you're feeding in your negative emotions through journaling is probably not your coping skill.
Yeah, because you're simply fueling the energy of that. I think there is space for venting or emotional release, but I really like to keep that relatively limited because I know that I'm creating in every moment. So I don't want to spend a lot of time and energy on that. My human might need a little of that, but then I want to redirect my focus. And so then you want to be intentional, whether you're writing your intentions down, whether you're speaking them out loud. I like to write and speak as though it already exists. And so you do all of that, and then you want to go about your day. This is how I like to do it anyway, is to go about my day acting as if I am the person that I wrote about in the things that I wrote about, because I like to write. So I write down this experience that I am creating for myself as though it already exists. And then I behave as though I am that version of myself that I'm trying to create. So I try to think about this version of myself. How does she live her life? How does she eat? How does she move? How does she interact with other people? How does she show up for her business? How does she interact with other people? What are her relationships and the way that she treats people? How does she behave in that? So I just kind of go through all of that and try to be mindful of that being that version of myself rather than the current version of myself that's showing up in my life, so that I'm starting to create an energy around that where the universe is like, oh, okay, so she really is that girl. She really is that. And so I find that that works really, really well for me with manifestation.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like method acting, right? It's like what is this version of me dressed like? If I want to be the most successful version of me, like what would I be filling my day with? And so the biggest thing you can do to start, if you're like listening to this and you're like, oh, I don't know, I don't even know how to get started. Like the biggest thing to do to start is like the intention of it, like knowing what you want and thinking about what that looks like in your day. And you don't have to figure it all out, but you have to start the process and the energy and the momentum of starting to guide your mind through that process of, what does it look like? Who do I get to be? Like what does magnetism look like on me? And I also believe there's something to be said about joy and finding any hint of joy you can in your day, whether that's, cooking and putting on really good music, or whether that's trying a new hobby or a recipe, or whether that's like just getting really present and detaching from your phone. Like there is something to be said about being in a good energy. I'm pretty intentional when I manifest. I'm somebody I write every day. Christy and I both do a process, and I don't know if yours is the same still, but I write a thank you letter to God, to the universe, to whatever you believe in. Um, a thank you as though the things I desire have already occurred, and I'm just saying thank you for them. And I have my old manifestation, like I have my first manifestation journal, and it's wild to think of the stuff that I used to write for. Like I used to write for confidence all the time because I felt so insecure all the time, and I used to write for like certain amounts of money that are just like kind of a joke at this point, and like just little things that I used to write for that are just my reality now, that from my first book. And I know that someday these books will also be a reality because I've decided that they are. And so that is my personal practice, is that I write a thank you letter to the universe as though it's already occurred. Now, the thing is that can get really robotic, that can get really mechanical feeling. And so the big idea behind any manifestation is, can you and are you willing to believe in that thing for yourself? Like, is there any emotional energy behind it? If you're writing for winning the lottery, for example, and there's no part of you that feels like you could see it for yourself, you could feel it for yourself, like it feels like a doable, reachable thing. If it feels so far up here in the ethers, like you're not really emotionally, energetically tying to it. And that's when people are like, oh, manifestation's not real. It doesn't work. I didn't win the lottery. And I'm like, okay, well, was there any even little bit part of you that believed you could? And so manifestation is fun because you can manifest cars. You can manifest. I've manifested access to private jets. I've manifested playoff tickets. I've manifested dream seats at, my favorite football teams for an entire 3 seasons. Like, there are things that you can manifest that are really fucking cool and that are, experiences or things. But like, I think that the most important thing I've ever manifested in my entire life is how I feel. Like, if I'm going to manifest anything, it's going to be that every day of the week. I was somebody who was very insecure. I was somebody who was very depressed, and I wrote myself out of it. Like, I reworked my mind and started deciding that I was open and willing to believe that I was somebody who felt a little bit better every day. And so I think that the way you feel also magnetizes these manifestations to you. So even if you don't do anything else that we've talked about, if you're working on how you feel, that matters too, because energetically, you're going to receive the things that are a better match to you 100% of the time.
Yeah, you've got to get your energy to that place where you can access the kind of manifestations that typically we're wanting to. One of my favorite ways, because I can be a bit of an overthinker with things sometimes. So, something that works really well for my brain is this idea of working up to the belief. So, if you don't, to use the lottery example, if you don't believe that you can win the lottery or that you can be an overnight millionaire, you can use a stair step approach in terms of that belief. So when you're manifesting, you choose something that feels still within the realm of some level of believability, but it's stretching that belief a little bit. And you get to that place where you start to see that manifesting consistently in your world. And then you level up to the next step and you see how far you can stretch your belief with that. And so that might be, I believe that I can create $5,000. I am creating $5,000 this week for myself or whatever, and then you get to that place where that's flowing into your experience regularly, and then you go up to 10,000 or whatever is works for your brain, but you keep building it up so that you're progressing into that, and that works really nicely for me. I also love, I do a lot of the writing like you, but lately I've been just loving doing car manifestation. So what I mean by that is when I'm alone in my car, which is a lot, when I'm just driving around, I just start to talk. I probably look a little crazy, but I start to talk things into existence. So I will talk as though I'm talking to my best friend and I'm just sharing these amazing things that are happening in my life. And I talk about it as though it already is. And I just get into this flow and these rants, and I can feel the energy flowing through me. And I start to get really excited and I start to just feel the power of that energy. And I think that that's something that's so important with manifestation too, is the emotion of it, pulling that emotion up. And for me, that way helps me to connect even more with the emotion. Or when I'm doing the writing, I'm thinking, how does this feel in my body to have this feeling of confidence that I want to create? What does confidence feel like in my body? Or how does it feel in my body to have $1 million? Or whatever, or what is the emotion that I would feel if I were to have that? So I love to pull the feeling into that. And I find that the car manifestation works really well for me with that. I connect with it more easily for some reason.
Yeah, and some people love like a vision board. Some people love like There's just I went for a really long time. I really was loving it's called like Mind Movies or something. Do you know what I'm talking about? You basically create like video clips of what you want. So like I would have like an entire TikTok that I created in my drafts. I didn't share it with anybody, but I like would, do like a check deposit or and it would just be a video set to a song that I really liked. So it was like when I heard the song, I locked right into that energy of like having the things that I want. So there's so many really cool ways to manifest. Just because Christy and I write doesn't mean that that's the best one for you. You might be a more visual person. I know I just did a podcast with Justin Shank that'll be coming up on my podcast, and he was talking about like how he spends 5 to 10 minutes just visualizing stuff and just in his head. He doesn't write anything down. He doesn't say it out loud. He just visualizes himself on stages or on podcasts that he wants to be on or filling up an audience for his event. So we can do a lot of different things if we are like depending on what our big uh what we connect with most. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And I think you also just start with whatever it is that you feel like, however you feel pulled to do it. And if you're not sure where to start, I love a I love it when or wouldn't it be nice if. So what that means is you say out loud or you write or however you want to do that. I love it when people bring me flowers and coffee, or I wouldn't it be nice if someone brought me flowers this week, or whatever that is. Like, you can start with little simple things that are just so much fun. I've shared this example many times, but it was just a really fun specific thing that I manifested back in our old office years ago. I did, wouldn't it be nice if we had a closet for this office? Because there was no closet in that office, and I really love good storage and wanted to put my stuff. And I just said that and put it out there, totally unsure how would this happen. There is no closet in this space. And within a couple of weeks, I had somebody who was in a different office approach me who had rented a closet right next to us and wanted me to share that for, I believe it was $20 a month or something that I was paying. And it was this huge closet. It had these amazing shelves. I loved it. And it, what a weird manifestation, right? But it was really easy to put out there. And I wasn't sure how that was going to happen, but just put it out there. And so it's a really fun place to start. You can do that with parking spaces. You can do it with, wouldn't it be nice if I just felt amazing today, that every aspect of my day felt easy today, whatever that looks like. But just starting with those simple little things is a really fun place to start, so that you can start to see how magical you are. And then you're definitely going to want to do more.
I also like thank you more please. Like just if you notice something you like or you're wanting more clients and one comes in, thank you more please. Like it's the noticing and the gratitude. The other day I was driving, I had like an hour and a half drive, and I realized like I'd gone through 3 green lights and I was like, "Oh, thank you for the green lights. Like the more please." And I swear to you, I there's probably 30 green lights or 30 green lights that I went through on this drive. And I do, maybe it was luck, but I also think that like the universe was just favoring the shit out of me the other day, and that felt really good, and I was aware and I was thankful for it. So using gratitude as well of like the world is magic, you're part of the world that's magic, and when you start to just find yourself in awe and gratitude, it does change the game. It changes your energy, it changes your mindset, and it opens you up, in my opinion, to receive even more.
Yeah, the universe loves a grateful heart. The universe loves to support us when we're in that energy. And so the more that you're there, I think that that's a really nice exercise to do also, is just to take a look around your life, the life that you have right now, and the things that are going really well for you, or the things that you are grateful for. I think that gratitude is such a huge energy that contributes in such a positive way to manifesting the things that you want. So you're never going to regret taking that time to just look at that. Or, like Nichole was saying, to look back at your manifestation book if you have one, and notice the things that you've created. I've looked at mine and it's just like, oh my gosh, that's so amazing. That's crazy to me that back then I wanted that and didn't have that. And now I do. And it just helps me to come back to that gratitude, which I feel like the universe just eats up and is always going to give me more because I'm holding that energy.
Yeah, 100% of the time, like we don't need to control our lives, but we are still in control of our lives. And so coming back to what it is you want, releasing the how, and being playful. It's fun. It's fun. It's exciting, especially when you're new to it. So use our little guide today to get going on a manifestation for you and just playing with your life and being the person driving your life and not just the victim of it. I think that that's really where I like to see mindset work and manifestation come into play is that you were not a victim to your experience. Like all the things that have led up to like what has happened to you and what situations you're in, like now it's time to take the control back and start deciding and making choices in a new direction. So we will be coming at you once a month with talks like this, information on mindset and spirituality and manifesting and all sorts of really fun stuff for you. So make sure to, if you liked this episode, share it with somebody you love. Make sure to subscribe to this podcast so you don't miss any of these episodes. And make sure to check out Christy. I will drop all of her stuff in the show notes so that you can connect with her as well. And we'll catch you next time.